Okay, guys, so basically this is what I wanted to explain today, just based off of what I've learned. You have to take a second to sit down to thoroughly observe your patterns. Do you move when you don't want to move? Do you get angry when you don't want to get angry? You have to fix these things about yourself. You have to give a fuck about yourself, and that makes life so much better. Like, I'm learning to do it now, and it makes life 10 times better. It makes you feel better. I want you to start a journal.
That's when the internal change was happening. He was actually changing internally, trying to preach a positive message because he kind of had a negative impact, and he wanted to balance that out.
I'm gonna stop calling you guys fans. I'm gonna start calling you members of my cult. This is a cult, not a fan base. Or we have this big family of a fan base, and there's a lot of us that are depressed, myself, including myself. There's a lot of us that are depressed, so just hashtag my name and find another person that listens to my music and help them through their problems. So here's what we'll do. We'll start a hashtag today. I want you to get this trending. Hashtag you tell me your problems and I'll tell you mine. And we will use this hashtag to communicate with other fans and friends and that listen to my music that need help.
He did not want that image to follow him around for the rest of his life. But when it comes to his relationship with Geneva, I do sincerely think that he wanted to fix his relationship with her privately. But between the law, the case, and then the public, that was like an impossible task.
He had what's called a no contest order of protection against Geneva.
Under the assumption love is there already. Let me be here. One of the girls that he was living with, she hit me up on Instagram. She told me that Jose wanted to speak to me. And I was like, what? I ended up speaking to him. I was on FaceTime with him. And he was telling me that he wanted to meet up and apologize to me. And I was really scared because I didn't know if it was a setup. I was like still very afraid of him. So I was scared. But I just had to like overcome it. I felt like I had to face my problems.
Reporting live from Florida with the alleged hurricane.
We'd like hang out here and there. I spent a whole weekend with him during a hurricane, and like nobody even knew. People online would be like, they hate each other. But in reality, like we were talking. For me, like I found sympathy and empathy in the situation, and I was able to literally just like forgive him because I feel like I basically compared it to my mother. Like my mother has abused me. And you don't see people disowning their mother because of that. Well, you do, but not necessarily in every instance.
They both had an opinion on what should happen, but at some point the state of Florida wanted otherwise.
When Geneva sent in her affidavit to say she no longer wanted to pursue criminal charges, I think that prompted them to go through the jail calls. You know, there was so much stuff on there. They easily charged Jose with a bunch of new counts of witness tampering.
Okay, guys, so I was just given 7 more charges by the state attorney's office, and I have a court date on the 15th. So I would ask that everyone come to support me. I ask that the people that do come bearing positive energy.
He had this court date in December. The day before, I was asking him, like, what's the worst thing that could happen tomorrow? He answered that he'd be taken in for a couple hours and they'd be able to get him out that same day.
The fans took over the whole courthouse. They were calling the judge, like doing all kinds of crazy stuff. As soon as we walked in the room, you could feel the energy from the judge. He didn't even get a chance to say a word. She just started going in.
Sir, would you stop playing to all your friends? We know your friends are in here to watch you, to make a fuss, to make you take little videos for YouTube. You need to get out of here.
It seemed like she just knew in her mind she was going to take him that day to make an example of, you don't have more power than we do.
They ended up taking him in for a week.
All those charges added up. So I believe he was looking at 20 years. Now, because of his status, it requires him to be segregated in solitary. Not being in general population, he doesn't have access to sitting and talking to people or anything that can stimulate him. And he already struggled with hearing voices in his head and being alone, anytime locked up in solitary would be a problem for him, and we knew that.
It doesn't matter how many times he spoke about like helping each other or something like that. It was always, okay, but he beat Geneva. Like he can never have a conversation without that going back to being the topic.
And why is that wrong?
Why is it wrong?
How do you fully redeem yourself if every time on every corner it just keeps popping up?
But how do you fully redeem yourself without ever admitting that you did something wrong?
He acknowledged that there was a situation, but self-acknowledgement and accountability, do I have to hold myself accountable and admit it to the world just for you guys to judge me anyways? They were gonna judge him no matter what, without knowing the full story. It didn't matter if he spoke that full story, they were gonna judge him no matter what. And that's all he was going through, was being judged. He could release a #1 album, you could love his song, but then they were still judging him based on that situation. It wasn't something he was able to escape, even though he was holding himself accountable.
But he wasn't telling the truth about it publicly.
I think it also might have resulted in them taking his whole life away.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense that that's an apology that needs to be kind of more planned out in a way that like has an actual beneficial result and not one that results in somebody getting their entire freedom and life taken away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I do think he would have gotten to a place where he would have gotten there. He just never had a chance to.
I got a call from a well-known psychologist by the name of Dr. Michael Brannon. The judge decided that I was going to work with him. The judge pointed at me and says, everywhere you go, he's got to go. You got to go. He can't go anywhere without you. Well, the first day, it was people in here galore. I didn't want to go right then and there in a sit-down face-to-face because from a cultural kind of background, the connotations of therapy and counseling perception is what goes along with that. I'm crazy, I'm loco, and I ain't crazy. As a matter of fact, he mentioned that, ain't nothing wrong with me, I ain't crazy. I said, man, let's walk, let's just walk. Man, I got problems like anybody else. I said, look, I'm here, man, to treat you like a human being. It's about your life, man. It's a bigger picture to me. I'm concerned about you. And he looked like that, pointed at me, he's like, straight.
I do not at all want any
Guy was rule-based. He was like, yo, you gotta clean this shit up. Way too many people in and out of your house, bro. You can't control what these people are gonna do. Something bad is gonna happen. Yo, you know what? You can't have all these women in your house. It's gonna lead to something. You just pick one and call it a day. He picked Jen.
Before me and Ja ever dated, we're not two people that were looking for anything at all. He actually wanted me to be his assistant. Ja always saw me as this very nurturing, caring person, and he felt very safe when he was with me, and I did too. So he just kind of said, like, you're my girlfriend now, and if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be, but if you want to, I would love for you to be. I'm like, okay, I can be your rock, you can be mine. I will say there were some days I felt like I was definitely walking on shards of glass because you didn't know what you were gonna get.
We would have sessions. We would just sit down and talk and laugh. Whatever his pain or whatever he was going through, whatever he wanted to talk to me about, personal, family kind of stuff. And I recognized then that this was a traumatized human being, unable to grieve. And he had to play out the macho. He's 5'2". He's gonna play out this macho, the rap, the hip hop, and all this. There ain't chance. And he's dealing with an enormous amount of emotion and a lot of stuff. I never could be his biological father, and that was not my role. But if anything, that I could be there, and that I didn't want money from him, it was about him, just as a human being that deserved the dignity and the respect.
She won't woohoo me, ayy, just like a song. Right on my dick like a blunt, right on my dick like a blunt. Her booty bit like a pimple, pot that pussy like a pimple.
And I know this from what Cleo and Solomon and everyone told me. It's like when I was around making music with him, that's when he was happy. I realized that like the process of making music and being able to put his mind on something was what allowed him to free his mind off of all the other places that it was going.
That's scary, bro. Bro, once you learn how to use your vocal range, you can do some crazy shit.
He was putting down big records, and it was exciting to watch.
Take this damage, and the way I feel can't manage.
He was on house arrest, and going to the studio and having to be home at a certain time became an issue. And so we decided to knock out the closets and build a studio in home for him. Whenever he gets into the mood, it's right there.
There's the X.
I remember like there was a day in early January that he was asking me if I had any beats. And I said, yeah, I have beats from this person and that person and this producer and that producer. And he said, no, you. And so I reached over and kind of logged into my Box account on his computer. And before I could click on anything, because I was so nervous, I was trying to figure out what to play him, he clicked on something called Sad Banjo, which turned out to be the beat for Sad.
Did you mute that sound or you like it?
I like it.
Okay. And in maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, he wrote that whole song.
Someone that's afraid to let go. Suicide.
Oh, that's nice. That's dope.
You decide.
Who am I? Yeah.
Who am I?
Someone that's afraid to let go.
You decide. That's fire.
Yeah. Like the day we got the mix of Sad back, I remember us kind of looking at each other and being like, this is different. There was always this desire to have something that just would kind of set him apart from everyone else that he was being compared to at the time. And this would have been a song where there's zero rapping on it. And the idea of this song coming out, especially at the same time as a song called Changes, that excited me and it excited him. And then when those two songs came out, I felt like the entire world changed.
Someone that's afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Yeah, suicide if you ever try to let go. I'm sad, I know, yeah. I'm sad, I know, yeah. Someone that's afraid to let go. You decide.
And, you know, in the Sad music video, he kills his former self. And he was really deliberate about not attaching who he was in 2018 to the person that he was in the past.
Someone that's afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Yeah, suicide if you ever try to let go. I'm sad, I know, yeah. I'm sad, I know, yeah.
Transitioning into the blue hair was Indigo Child coming into himself and realizing his responsibility to this generation. You know, him and I had a conversation about what are you gonna be? What do you want these kids to walk away with? You know what I'm saying? What's your message? And he realized he had an obligation that was bigger than himself. And so he chose to take that path.
Okay, so my current focus is creation and evolution. It's better to be respected through love rather than fear, simply because, like, all right, I was respected through fear, and it's not real love. It's not real love, and it drives people away. It makes people treat you differently. It makes people really, like, it's just not genuine. It's not what you really would want. Like, it's better not to be a crazy motherfucker. It's better not, because I've went through that. I've decided there was a point where I wanted to be the villain, and it's not fun, bro. It's not fun. People it doesn't attract anything that you truly want. I've started to look at myself very differently and beat myself up. And you guys are the only thing that gives me hope. You guys are the only things that thing that motivates me to ideally, like, yo, be strong. You have over 8 million kids or adults and teenagers watching you, relying on you for this hope.